Well, hey, thanks so much for putting this call together. I am super, super, super excited because this is game number 2 of Quest Collective. And so, for anybody out there who's watching and has no idea what in the hell Quest Collective is, I will just recap. So, Quest Collective is a gaming initiative, coalition, if you will, that we set up here at Trans Empowerment Project because you know what? We have had enough of carrying the hard stuff. The promise of a better, equitable future, and like one day, sooner or later, tomorrow, we're going to get to this thing. Screw that. We're getting there now. The time is now. We've actually passed the point of when it should have been. So we're here. We're moving into the future, and there's nothing anybody's going to do about it. So we are trying to make sure we are prioritizing rest and joy for this community, and this community being two-spirit, trans, intersex, and gender expansive community members, especially folks who are disabled and BIPOC, because let's face it, nothing is ever just built for us, especially not things that are fun and joyful. It's more or less like the, come, tell us all of your trauma so we can collect all the coins off of that. Enough of that crap too. So instead, our coalition is throwing down the gauntlet, and we are moving into a space of absolute play and fun. And let's be real, with this incoming administration doing everything they can to try to make sure we have less spaces to exist, the most radical thing we can do is create more spaces where we can actually authentically be ourselves. And so that is what we're doing at Quest Collective. And now you are all our accomplices, and we're roping you in with us, just like we have roped in Dusty here. So, Dusty, I would love for you to introduce yourself and let folks know who you are.
Yeah, hi. Well, I'm Dusty. I use they, he pronouns. I'm what I have in most of my bios, I'm an incredibly queer Latinx creator. I primarily do like podcasts. I do APs for like Goblets and Gays, Bring Your Own Mac, and Wavering Force, and other stuff mixed in there. But also design games, explicitly queer games that play with genre, because I love playing with genre. It's something that it took me until this year to realize what I was doing with the games I was writing. But yeah, it's I do a lot of stuff online, but those are my two big things and my two things that I love doing the most.
So I have a quick confession before we move on to other stuff. It's not that serious, but I can't remember where I first heard about Goblets and Gays, but I've actually followed y'all on Spotify for quite a while, and just due to life, like it's hard for me to keep up with any podcast. But like I followed on there for a long time. I recently realized I didn't follow on social media, and I'm like, I need to follow.
Yeah, that's how it be, because like you find the show and then you just go listen to it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, before we get too far, we need to let everybody know who you are, Rain. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So this is kind of my thing now, is helping Jack with the Quest Collective, and I'm honestly super excited to be here. I guess I'll stop telling people that you can't get rid of me, because I actually like being here, and I just don't plan on going anywhere. But I've been volunteering with TEP. I also make games and do a lot of the same things as Dusty.
One of us, one of us, one of us. I love it.
Oh yeah, we're all podcasters, all gamers.
Yeah, exactly. All part of the gender expansive community, because we have decolonized enough to know that this gender bullshit, like whatever.
Seriously.
That's all I've got to say about that one. We'll let the cis folks fight it out. We already know what's up. It's cool. And in the meantime, I just want to say, thank you both for being here. Rain, I actually roped Rain in much earlier in life than I did with Dusty. But thanks to Rain for lifting up some of Dusty's games, and that's why we're here, really, is because Rain has shown me the way. And so we are really excited to make your game, Trans Vampire Cowboys, the next game for Quest Collective. And so we want to like tell the folks about your game. We would love to, give them some backstory, let them know what this game is about, and hopefully get them excited about playing it with us this month.
Yeah, I am so excited that y'all are playing it. When designing this game, I tend to try to design my games generally as kind of a pick up and play kind of idea, where they're not necessarily rules light, but I don't, even though say for one of my games where it's a card based fighting mechanic and you're two assassins, that one's pretty complicated, I think. But that's because I am lovingly refer to myself as a mechanic sicko. So when I can get into it, I do, but I tend to like making games that, one, are easy to play, but also kind of lend themselves to APs, or like actual like performing, with like the moves and mechanics that are both exciting but easy to like remember to do when you're in the middle of a stream. So I'm excited to see how it plays. I've only run the game twice myself, because I tend to just release it out into the world and play test it afterwards.
Same.
But yeah, I mean, Trans Vampire Cowboys is the name of the game. The cover, if you haven't seen the cover, what I was going for is pulp, like Pulp Fiction. Not Pulp Fiction, the movie, but like Pulp Fiction.
The genre, yeah.
The genre, yes. Because I love playing in genre, and for me, game design usually starts with the name. Because I made Lesbian Werewolf Crime Fighters. This is the natural sequel to it, like clearly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and the game itself is primarily about queer community and both protecting it and also empowering it, and heists. It's a very maybe pared down is the right word, but I've been thinking of it as a easier to pick up version of a Forged in the Dark game.
Yeah,
and it's using
absolutely.
the same mechanics as Lesbian Werewolf Crime Fighters.
Yeah, I noticed that with the clocks. And it's funny, I just recorded our little, or at least a rough draft of our little, like, here's how you play this game for the people in the Quest Collective. And yeah, I mean, one of the things that I really appreciate about this game and a lot of similar games is that you have, like, not just the mechanics that are easy to pick up, but then you have those tables in there that it's like, the GM does not have to sit down. It's not like D&D where, you either have to read through this whole module and learn it, or like come up with your own story. There's stuff in there that's like, you don't know what to do? Here's some suggestions. And I love that, especially for stuff like this.
I love writing tables. Generally, it's just like the options. I think some of the first games that I encountered, I think it was probably like Grant Howard games. Right. I was like, oh, there are these tables. I just get to choose them. I really love this idea. And like my first game, I mean, it was a Honey Heist hack, was Dracula Owes You Money.
It's funny.
And that's where like
working on a Honey Heist hack right now.
An incredibly hackable game.
Yeah.
And so like I like putting that in there specifically for like, hey, if you want to play this with your group and you don't know what to do, just roll or just choose from these options.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say a lot of the folks that are coming into Quest Collective, for a lot of folks, this is the first game they may ever have had a chance to play. And so that was one of the things that drew me in to being able to spotlight this as an early game in our adventure here, is because, just being able to pick it up and play, like you said, I mean, that's exactly what we're looking for. And the fact that it's so accessible, because we literally have folks all over the world who are going to be playing this game. We've got folks in Africa that want to play and may not have access to the same kind of tools and tech that they may have to have otherwise, but being able to just, play this game so easily, that's exactly what we're looking for. and just giving them the opportunity to come in and be a part of the fun. So I'm excited. I'm so excited to see how this game goes for everybody.
Absolutely. And Jack, I don't know what you have planned for this, but I did come up with a couple of little things that I would like to do. But I mean, if you have other stuff you want to talk about first, let's do it.
No, let's go for it. Let's hear it.
Okay. So one of the first things that I wanted to do is just go around and all share like something that we want to work on over the next year, either personally, work-wise, like game-wise, just like a skill or a talent that you want to develop. And did I plan for what I want to say? No, absolutely not. I did not. So I'm not going to go first, but I will answer.
I'm like, okay, go ahead.
Being ADHD and just generally like writing all the time, I have about like 5 things on my plate that are like all partially finished. One game that speaking of like the start as a new administration, I posted on Blue Sky because I'm done with Twitter. I think like my games, I'm not afraid of subtext or just text in my games. I make it very clear what kind of politics I want to deal with. But I was just like, maybe I'm just done doing subtext at all. And so one game that I was going to make quickly as kind of like a meme until I realized what I wanted to do with it is called Queers Punching Fascists.
Nice.
Using actually the tenacity system for this that I use for this game. And initially it was just going to be like a quick like quick and dirty hack, but I realized like it's going to be both a game, but it's going to be, as far as my games go, a more kind of grounded game. And it's going to be both like you have this system to use to work with your community to protect it, but it's also going to be also part like a guide to help form communities, I don't want to get too ambitious, but like form resistance, form stuff for your own self and
Right.
connections and all that. So I started writing. I'm like, I should actually take my time with this. So that's something on my plate. Hopefully early 2025. If not, I have some game jams that I'm a part of that I may just like make something because I enjoy it.
Yeah, honestly, I really love just doing like random game jams from time to time. Like, I'll come up with something in a few weeks. Is it going to be the best thing I've ever made? Maybe. Who knows?
Well, you know how much I love segues. This is a great time to plug the fact that we have a game jam already in the works for early 2025, and the goal is we want to don't tell too many people just yet, but we want to do a game jam, and then we want to spotlight the winner. But we're going to do the game jam during March for Trans Day of Visibility to try to help folks in the community who may have never written a game before have an opportunity to flex their creative muscles and skills and see what we come up with. So I'm excited to see how that comes out too. But yeah.
And you know, speaking of game jams and TEP, I am currently it actually hasn't started yet, but in a few days, probably by the time this comes out, it will already be out. Running just a super short game jam that the 50% of the proceeds will go to TEP. So check out the Best of 2024 TTRPG jam if you want to help out TEP.
Nice.
That's awesome. Thanks. So going back to your questions, do you have your answer now?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a broad one, but honestly, just continuing to really go along with what Dusty was saying, like building community, you know, being a part of TP and learning everything that I can about like how to build this community, especially, I think is something that I really, really want to focus on. Also, you know, time management, because I also have ADHD and I'm working full time and I'm in grad school, so it's fine. Nothing's on fire.
That's awesome. Well, I will say for myself, I mean, you know, the theme of 2025 for me is going to be thriving out of spite, because that's exactly what the fuck I'm doing in every capacity possible. I am thriving out of spite. I refuse to give into this like fear mongering nonsense with all the stuff, and like I'm not getting in the fetal position for anybody. I made it through the 80s and 90s. I'll be all right. And on top of that, I am taking my happy ass to a whole nother town where I can actually start pouring from a full cup instead of an empty one. So that's going to be really exciting, to move out of the South and into a more welcoming space. So, yeah, I think for me, it's really about being able to be on the other side of that future wall that we always talk about. At TEP, we talk a lot about, moving out of this problematic past into the equitable future. And I've been saying it for quite a while now that's what we're doing. We're in the process of moving into this future, but I feel like we're there. We're really there on that cusp of like, we made it through 2024. And now we're going to see what's on the other side of that wall. And so for me, it's really about, I don't know, for the first time in my life, maybe being able to pour from a more full cup. I don't know what to do with that other than lean into playing my harmonica and gaming more and, finding more joy. So I'm really excited about the community aspects. Dusty, I don't know if you know, but at TEP, we've been trying to build out more of like kind of like a distributed organizing program so that more people like on the ground in their local communities can take the lead. So similar to what you were saying with the game and the things that you're thinking about is like, really, how do we make sure that we're scaling up these resources and putting more power into the hands of the people who need it the most? And I feel like I've done the hard thing of applying for and creating a 501c3. So like, I've got the opportunity. Come on, let's everybody like, if you got ideas, let's do it. We're gonna do it equitably. We're gonna do it strategically. We're gonna make sure we're not wasting anybody's time and we're not gonna burn ourselves out. Because I don't know about y'all, but I'm kind of tired of fighting. I feel like I've been fighting since I was in the womb, and I'm over it. So I want to actually spend some time enjoying my life. So that's really what I'm trying to do this year, is make sure that like more of us get to experience that joy. And those folks who just woke up with that alarm clock after those elections, they are so well rested. We're going to put them to work as our accomplices and our allies. So more rest for us, more play for us, a little bit more work for them. Go team.
Yeah, I mean, to bounce off of a couple things, like one, like spite is a hell of a motivator. Let me just say, it truly is something that when you have this spite, I personally am heavily fueled by spite, just as a human being. But it really can, like, you find this energy from something, even if it's from a negative place, put it towards whatever. This has like been kind of my vibes for going through the past years. So I think that's a great use of that energy. And going like the game jams, this game was actually a game jam game. Like, it was already on my back burner as it was, because Lesbian Werewolf Crime Fighters was one of my more popular games, is one of my more popular games. And so I was like, well, I wanted to build off of that, and like refine some of the stuff that I learned while playing that and playtesting and hearing from people that played it and put it in here. And even then, I'm still refining this game. I'm hopefully working on the second version of Lesbian Werewolf Crime Fighters, simply because I've heard a lot of feedback from it, and I'm tweaking some of the stuff. I'm reworking some of the moves, adding more moves, adding like other things, but keeping it more or less the same base game, because that one is about queer heroism, being like the hero for your city when there isn't one. And I think that one works as intended, and I wanted to do something different with this one, which is why like I have like clocks and there's phases for this game, because that way there's more structure, as I think all good heist things should have.
Absolutely. I've been actually wanting to play Lesbian Werewolves for a long time. I think I got it in the Trans Rights bundle.
That sounds
a
right.
couple of years ago, and
yeah,
it was one of those, because I don't know if you've looked at that, but there's so many, like hundreds and hundreds of games in that bundle.
Yeah.
And going through that list, there were others that stood out, but some of them I'm like, no, I've got to make time for that. I just have to actually make the time for it.
That's why I work backwards from a name. When I think of a name that I love, I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, I want to do something with that. That's why like Dracula Owes You Money is a good one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly work kind of the same way. So a game that I'm currently working on, like I said, the Honey Heist hack, it was just kind of a casual mention, and a couple of things that I've written have come from the TTRPG Collective Discord, where people will just say, like Jack played in my Vampire the Masquerade, where it was like the vampires are the Golden Girls, and that came from just like an offhanded dumb joke in Discord from a friend, and then we made it happen. And so I'm currently working.
I love that game, by the way.
It was so much fun. We need to have a sequel to that.
Yes.
I'm currently working on HRT Heist, though.
Oh, beautiful.
Heist hack.
Incredible.
Yeah. I'm really excited about that.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I actually want to know more about Dusty and what kind of stuff that you get into. Like, what do you do for joy? How do you rest? How do you find joy? Especially if gaming is where you're putting a lot of work and stuff like that. Even gaming, sometimes you may need a break from. So what do you do to rest?
Well, I don't get a lot of rest, generally, just as a human being. I work full time, and my commute is about an hour-ish each way. So a lot of my time is spent outside of my home. But usually during not hectic times of the year, I almost always have at least one weekly game to look forward to. And even though I do podcasts, I still incredibly love like playing games with my friends. So if it's not that or like a pickup game, I'm just like how I'm a mechanic sicko, I'm also a trading card game sicko, which is mostly like Magic the Gathering or Star Wars Unlimited, which is like a newer TCG. And I play online with friends, I play with my partner. Just because, like if you like mechanics, you're gonna like Magic, and it took me too long to figure that out. I just had to find the right group of people to play with, actually,
right?
Because that what happens. But I do play video games in my spare time. I cook a lot. But I will say, even though like I do work on podcasting gaming a lot, it is one of my still favorite things to do.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you haven't like burned yourself out of that. I did that with painting for a while. I was slinging my artwork, trying to like eat and have a roof over my head, and got to the point where I was like, all right, I can't paint any more cats and dogs. So people. I do like pop art and stuff. So everybody, one of my favorites that somebody asked me to do was their cat with a PBR can.
That's fun though.
It was fun, but I kind of burned myself out. So then I didn't touch painting for a while. So I was thinking about that, but rest is so huge. If you're not getting much rest, I highly encourage you to lean into that. I read this book about a year and a half ago called Rest is Resistance. Have you read that, or have y'all heard of that book?
It sounds sort of familiar.
I've heard the title for sure.
Oh my gosh, this book is like life-changing, and really, there's one line in that book that changed everything. It's what made me actually commit to this damn thing that I was begrudgingly reading. And it said, I trust myself more than I trust white supremacy. I felt that in my core. I was like, damn, all right, I gotta start taking naps.
That's so real though.
Yeah. And it really was. But the this book, yeah, there's this whole thing with like nap ministries and all that. But one of the things we're going to be doing with TEP, one of the things I want to do is really kind of encourage folks to do more book clubby type stuff. And Rest is Resistance is one of those books that I'm going to be very, very heavily encouraging group leaders to read this year, because I'm telling you, like, and now I do these like yoga nidra videos. I don't know if y'all have heard of yoga nidra. I had not before, but like they're basically like these little meditations, and they're like 20 minutes long. You put on this. I started watching this thing. I was like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm gonna watch this. Next thing I know, she's like, you can go ahead and open your eyes. I was like, what the 20 minutes gone like that. But I really felt more rested. And so now I try to make it a point to do that more often. But it's really been very helpful. It's one of those things I wish I would have learned a long time ago.
Right. Something just on the subject of yoga that kind of ties in, talking about like white supremacy and stuff. One thing that I didn't really think about, because I've always kind of been around yoga off and on, but the fact that it's been so commercialized in the US and so taken away from its cultural roots, it honestly makes a huge difference when you actually incorporate, like, it doesn't matter what your religious or spiritual beliefs are, but when you incorporate the way it's supposed to be done, that it is a spiritual practice, it's so much more restful when it's not just like, oh, this is my exercise, this is something I do for fun. It can still be fun, but you can get so much out of it too.
Yeah, it doesn't just have to be, you don't have to just be a part of the pumpkin spice latte crew.
Hey, but they're delicious.
To get some benefits. That one was just for you, Rain. I'm so glad that you knew that.
Listen, I am at heart a basic bitch. Oh, you're muted.
I said, ain't we all?
Honestly, I think that basic bitches get a lot of unneeded hate.
Well, I just want to, okay, what are you a basic bitch on? I want to know.
That is
I gotta think what question. I am too.
I mean, honestly, one of the biggest ones is like, I will never not love a good pumpkin spice anything. Like, I realize that is such a just basic thing that people love to hate on. It's delicious. It's so good.
That's fair.
I'm not huge on like reality TV, but I don't hate it. Like, it's not my go-to, but it's pretty entertaining sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. How about you, Dusty?
I mean, I'm also a fan of like a nice heavily spiced coffee. Like PSLs, I have a local coffee shop where they do just like weird spice ones. I think I had during the week of Thanksgiving, they had a candied rosemary latte, which is just nice because like I love like inhaling the spices, and sometimes I'll just like have it just like right here, me smelling it the whole time, which I think is also incredibly basic bitch, but it's nice. Coffee smells nice. Unless you're one that doesn't like the smell of coffee. You're valid. However, it smells nice.
Right. Another basic bitch thing. I love fall. That's my favorite. Fall and Halloween.
100%.
I mean, that's a good time of year.
Exactly.
I guess if that makes you a basic bitch, then I'll take one for the team on that one. Because I like the fall. Fall's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I say I like the fall, but I do live in Missouri, like on the border of the South, so we don't really get much of a fall. We get like a little bit of cool weather, and then it's winter.
Okay, so now that y'all have answered the question about where your basic bitch is, I want to know, where are you snobs? Like, what are the things that you're like, no, I'm not compromising on this thing? Because I'll tell you, for me, it's pizza and bagels. Like, I'm from New York, don't even play. Like, I can't. When My partner really just has a good time making fun of me over this one because so like I currently live in North Carolina and there's a place here called Brooklyn Bagels. They need to take that Brooklyn shit right off of their name right now because never are they allowed to use Brooklyn in their name. That is blasphemy. When you have bagels that are like about as thick as like an English muffin, that's not a bagel. That's like a bagel crisp or a thin, but that's not a bagel. And also, if you're gonna put cream cheese on a bagel, you better see that shit, not these little smears. This is like some white folk shit down here in the South where it's the schmear. They're putting this little thin little layer. Like in New York, if you're getting a bagel, you're getting at least like 4 ounces of cream cheese. That's half a bar of cream cheese. That's how it's meant to be. That's how nature and God is intended, damn it.
Gotta clog those
wild.
And if you don't have a good cheese pizza, you don't have a good pizza. Sorry. Now you can put all the crap you want to on top of it. If you cannot do a good cheese pizza, you just need to get out the game.
You know, a good cheese pizza is like something different though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of pizza, I would say probably one of my snobby things. It is not something that I get to enjoy very often. A legitimate Chicago deep dish, cannot beat that. It's my favorite kind of pizza.
I have to say, what did I just tell you? I am from New York. Look, I love Chicago so much. I mean, we're literally moving there because I love it so much, but I can't. Chicago, nah. They need to get the sugar out their sauce. Like, I don't know who taught these people how to make tomato sauce, but that ain't it. They might be onto something with the deep dish. Like, that crust is okay, but no. And I found out I was actually kind of disappointed when I was in Chicago. But I've only been one time, and I was there. Went to go order pizza, and like it's actually hard to find Chicago deep dish pizza. Apparently, it's more of a touristy thing, and people in Chicago are like, "Yeah, we don't do that."
As someone who currently lives in Chicago, yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I just moved here this year from the West Coast. Nice. I'm actually a San Diegan native.
Nice.
So speaking of snob stuff, San Diego obviously has like the best Mexican food in the country. LA's close, I think, but
King Taco,
tacos, quesadillas, like there's a dish that's called carne asada fries. It's what you imagine. It's carne asada on fries, but apparently you can't get it anywhere else, or you can't get it good anywhere else. I have given up looking for SoCal style Mexican food in Chicago. I found great Mexican food, but I would say as a whole, and I know I'm gonna get hate for this because I get looks every time I say it, that Chicago's Mexican food is like okay.
It's the Midwest. It's not the same.
Yeah, it's okay. I've had great. There's actually like some Bib Gourmand Michelin like star places around here. But yeah, it's just like I can't get a good burrito here. Just straight up, I can't get a good burrito.
I'm going to vouch for that. I lived in LA for 5 years. I spent some time in San Diego. You're not finding that quality of food anywhere outside of that area. You might once in a while be able to find something like near Vegas or something, but nah, you're really not going to find it outside of that San Diego and LA. And like King Taco was the place in LA, the big taco truck open at like 3:00 in the morning. You know, everybody's like lit from the club and stuff. Like line wrapped all the way around the block and stuff. But that food is so amazing. Carne asada off of that taco truck, nothing like it. So yeah, I feel that. But I'm excited to hear you're in Chicago because that's where we're relocating Trans Empowerment Project to.
Nice.
So we will be in Chicago beginning January 1st. We'll be there.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, I love the city. I do love this city, especially like I moved from San Diego simply due to cost of living. My partner works remote, so they can work forever. I found a job over here, um, and it's been nice because she like San Diego is huge, and like bitch, everybody's struggling in San Diego. Okay, so it's really hard to find a community with strangers. I feel. Um, at least it was for me growing up. Like I have like my family and like there's still events, but because like everything's so far away, it's not like San Diego's by no means walkable whatsoever. Like a down the street in San Diego is not a down the street here in Chicago. Down the street San Diego is about like almost a mile away. Because you have to go down the hill, you have to go up a hill, you have to turn left, you have to go down the right, and then you're at the liquor store. Then you go all the way back, down, up, down, up. Because San Diego is also very like mountainous and valleys and all that. But like where I live here in Chicago, I have like a really nice local community stuff. Like the local farmers market's incredible. We get like emails from our alderwoman about like local queer events and events in general. So it's been like a really nice change of pace.
I'm so excited about this move, and you just made it so much better. So thank you for that. Especially because I'm coming from, well, I mean, I lived in LA for a while. I'm originally from New York. I've lived everywhere, from Maine to Miami, out to LA, all the places. But currently, I am living in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And this was a COVID decision because we had to get out of Tennessee. Because Tennessee, I'm a little brown and a little trans for Tennessee. You know. But I mean, hey, I became the first trans guy to run for office anywhere in the southern United States by being there, because spite will get you everywhere. And actually, that's how TEP grew to the size that we did, is because every time that I would try to do anything in the state of Tennessee, I had these white folks that were trying to shut me down and block me from accessing things. And finally, I just said, you know what? Y'all can focus on Knoxville. You can have Tennessee for all I care, but we'll see who's doing what in 3 years. Well, 8 years later, here we are. Because it was officially TEP's 8th birthday 3 days ago. So
hey, that's awesome.
Oh.
Thanks. Started with a little clothing swap, and now we've got a whole international organizing program. Helps thousands of trans folks all over the world, and we're really just getting started. Sometimes I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing when I say it. I'm like, we're just getting started. I'm getting a little old, a little tired these days, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of getting started, though, I would love to talk about how we all got started. Jack, do you want to tell us how you got started in the TTRPG space?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always been very curious about RPGs and stuff, but I never really felt like I had the space to really lean into them. And then during COVID, my wife and I reached the end of the internet, and we're trying to find other things to do with our lives. And so we found this really cool little starter set for Dungeons and Dragons, thinking we were going to bring this home and play this game. And then I was pissed because I'm like, why the hell did I buy a book? I thought I was buying a game. And so we did not play Dungeons and Dragons, and instead that sat in a box for about 2 or 3 years. And then I met these wonderful folks named Rain and Kayla, who showed up to do a fundraiser for Trans Empowerment Project in June of 2024. They heard this call to action because we were like, the world is burning down. We need help. And so Rain and Kayla showed up and said, hey, we have no idea what the hell we're going to do, but we are going to do something to help. And then
we had some idea, just not a lot of good ones.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, once y'all put together your fundraiser for us, we had lots of opportunities to jump in and try some games. And so that was my first foray into the TTRPG gaming world, and now y'all just can't get rid of me. So here we are.
Honestly, I've been fortunate in my whole career as like a podcaster, streamer, whatnot, to have several people who it's their first time playing a game on my show, just in general, like they've never played a TTRPG. But Jack, honestly, you've been one of my favorite first timers, especially because now I get to just be like, "Hey, Jack, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Got anything going on this night in a couple of weeks? You want to play in this game?"
Well, what I love about this community is that you can really lean into your weird.
Mm-hmm.
And like the more that I'm hanging out, the more I'm like, oh yeah, y'all have not seen shit yet. But you know, I found I don't know, Dusty, I don't know if you know about this, but just the other day I found this channel on, I have a Samsung TV and they have this D&D channel. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons channel. And they even have like I think it was called Heroes Feast or something, like cooking show that's all like gaming themed and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like some podcasts that are shown on this channel.
Is
and stuff like
Encounter Party on there?
Maybe. It's something about some purple.
I know Ned Donovan, that like Nerd Juicy World Fest, had like the on TV actual play going on. So that's part of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been so much fun to watch and just hanging out and seeing the different folks who have been showing up for Quest Collective and watching Rain, your streams, and some of the other gamers that I've been really fortunate to get connected to over the last, the last couple of years now through TEP. Because we've had a lot of really cool gamers show up to do fundraisers for us over the years. So it's been really neat to get connected with the community.
Absolutely. And I love, I'm blanking now on who specifically it was, but there was someone in the TEP Influence for Good Discord who was talking about like, I did my fundraiser stream expecting to like not really make any money, and they're like, hey, I wildly succeeded, way past what I had planned. And it's like, I love seeing that stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah. So how did you get started, Dusty?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I primarily I didn't start playing TTRPGs until like my early 20s. Like 20 as my early 20s. Because I mostly played video games or like board games. But I started with Pathfinder First Edition, like at a home game, like 2014 or something like that, 2013. And I didn't get into actual plays until about 2020, actually. Because I started doing podcasting like 2018, solo podcast, which name that I'm not going to reveal because it's so bad. That was me on a basically a Chromebook sitting in my bathroom alone talking to the microphone.
Hey, it works though.
I mean, that's how I got started. And then that's because my friend at the same time started their podcast. It was like a D&D podcast. It was like a talkie D&D podcast where they talked about it. Which they don't do anymore, but they did that for a while. And then 2020 happened. So we started doing different stuff. On my friend's channel, we started with a Monster of the Week one shot, or not one shot, mini campaign, which was very fun. And I started getting more into a public space with a channel that no longer exists. It wasn't a great experience, but that does lead into Spite is a hell of a motivator. As I started doing more different things, I met the crew for Goblins and Gays that year. I didn't properly join their cast until towards the end of the year, or beginning of 2021. Because we started a side project called Anamamagiri, which used City of Mist. And I was pitched it as it's a Persona game, but you're college students, but it's like a horror themed, which is kind of the vibe. City of Mist is very fun, a little complicated to get into, but once you get playing, it's not bad. It's like any PBTA. And then I joined the proper cast of Goblins and Gays later that year, I believe. And then we just, been doing stuff since. started a bunch of shows. I've only held on to a couple as they're going because too many cooks or too little cooks, something like that. But I've been doing stuff pretty consistently since then.
Nice.
It's awesome. Brain, how did you get started?
Kind of the opposite of both of you. I started as a wee child back in like late elementary school. A friend of mine at school, his older brother was super into D&D. So I started with 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, wow.
Which is the worst edition. Well, one of the worst. Because they still used THAC0, and it was a stupid, complicated system. Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense. But, it was just fun. We would goof off in gym class instead of, like, doing class stuff. We would just play D&D. And, yeah, I played as a player for a long time, and then I was like, you know what? I could do this. And just started running my own stuff. And speaking of doing things out of spite, I won't say the channel because I don't want to call anybody out or the name of the game because it would give away exactly who it was. But from having a bad experience on a stream game, I really enjoyed the system. And I was like, you know what? I could do this way better. And I did.
There we go.
And I love that game. Again, I won't say which one, but yeah, I love finding those games and taking those shitty experiences and being like, you know what, I can make this way better, and I can make it not miserable for other people.
Hell yeah.
So since you two both have experience with writing games and stuff, what advice would either of you give for somebody who wants to like give it a shot? Where's a good starting place, or like what maybe something that you wish you would have known before you got started?
I mean, my advice would be do it. Like if you want to do it, just do it. Do it bad. Like you don't have to be good at it.
100%. Yeah, I think that's a great place. Just do something. It doesn't have to be bad. Or sorry, it doesn't have to be good. Make something bad. If you make something
doesn't have to be bad.
Exactly. I mean, you can make something great in your first try and you just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
But if you made something that wasn't made before, you put something into the world that is of your own creation, even if it's a hack. Like, actually, Dracula Owes You Money wasn't my first game. My first game was actually really inspired by Sleepaway, J Dragons.
I've wanted to play that for so long.
It was the first J Dragon game I played.
Nice.
I like a belonging outside belonging style GM-less game that I made. I wrote mostly on my phone in liminal spaces, like laundromats and stuff like that, because it's like a game set in a liminal space where you're you don't have a memory. It's like a time loop kind of deal game. It's using cards with prompts, which is like where my prompt stuff started with like J Dragon. Actually, I don't know how I think about it. I really look fondly at that game. I think I want to like work on it again at some point. It's called Memoria. And I think that game, I don't think it's great. I think it has like good bones because like, I made it. I like the stuff I make.
Right.
But one of the play tests I had for that game is probably one of the most memorable game experiences I've ever had. And like, I think about it all the time. And it was just like with some friends. So like, and that wasn't even like the finished game, but it was still so great. So, if you're thinking about doing something, just start writing. Like, if you have a game that you like kind of take the rules and do something else with it. Don't do a D&D because you're going to be doing something for 10 years and have a mediocre product because it's hard to like that system's been around for 50 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to hack. I would say if you play a system that you've liked from like an indie game developer, or you could look at Grant Howitt stuff. There are probably literally thousands of games hacked off of his games.
Easily.
Easily. So you can check out all of those. Himbo Treasure Hunt, the Fast and the Righteous, or the Quick and the Righteous, Honey Heist, Crash Pandas, The Witch is Dead. If any of these sound interesting just by the name alone, you'll probably have fun with it.
Absolutely. I love Grant Howitt just writes so many ridiculous games, and I don't think does this all the time, but occasionally we'll just do like every single day for a month. Like we'll write a new game. And that to me is impressive. Because even my most simple games, even like my one-page stuff, I still take some time. Like it takes me a little while to come up with stuff. But he's also been doing this for a long time. Like he's very experienced, and I think it's just something he could do in his sleep at this point.
Probably
does. Just wakes up and is like, hey, I wrote this game.
This is kind of random, but I heard this. Stephen King the other day said he writes 6 pages a day, every day.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, me too. I've been packing up my wife's Stephen King books, and they weigh like 5,000 pounds each. I tried to put like 4 of them in a box. I was like, this is too heavy. We got to get a different box.
Yeah. and going to that, Stephen King writes 6 pages a day. Do those go into books? Probably not.
Right.
Most of them apparently do, actually, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
allegedly, Steve.
Yes,
allegedly,
right.
Mr. King.
So, to kind of segue from that, something that I learned from not rugby itself, but from some people who I play rugby with, is that if you do something every single day for at least 8 minutes, that is the best way to get better. Like you don't have to do, hours and hours of anything. And so like for me, I try to, as long as I have the time and energy and whatnot, to like run for at least 8 minutes, because it's something I need to get better at. Or like writing for 8 minutes. Does it get a lot done? No, but it gets something done, and that's more than you had 8 minutes before.
Yep.
I like it. I need to apply that to my harmonica playing. I do. I probably play at least 8 minutes a day. I mean, I play quite a bit, actually. This is a new skill for me, Dusty. I started playing in like July. Apparently, in this life, I started playing it in July, but in past life, I played it very well.
So, speaking of, did I tell you, Jack, that I did look and see if Pigpen was on the Grateful Dead record that I got?
Oh,
it
yeah.
It was the first one after he died that they put out. So, yeah.
Perfect. Just kidding.
It was actually really good, but yeah, it would have been better with him on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, okay, another random question here. What is the worst advice anybody's ever given y'all?
Oh, man. Where do I even start? I mean, Jack, do you have some awful advice that you've gotten?
Yeah, keep it to yourself. That's the worst advice anybody's ever given me, is to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree. Like, I don't think it gets much worse than that.
No.
Here's the thing about the bad advice thing. I don't listen to people. I personally have challenges with I call it faux authority. People who think that they should have authority who literally don't. And so I usually brush off anything they have. I also have a challenge with actual authority. I have a challenge with authority in general, is how I should put it. So I don't know. Go into debt and try going to radiology school where you're doing 2 jobs and stuff. So, there's that.
Yeah. I also have a problem with authority. But yeah, I think it's the same kind of thing of like people who want to lord this power over you. Like, not let's have power together. Let's build each other up. It's like, no, I'm better than you. I can't do it.
Well, that's what that is so much of what I feel like we're trying to bring into TEP stuff is like this. If we're going to get off of this hamster wheel of harm and hate and all this stuff, then we have to be about collaboration and not competition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can have friendly competitions and stuff like that to challenge each other and make each other grow and stuff, but this like bro culture and dogpiling on each other and I mean, who the hell wants that? Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess those in the bro culture seem to enjoy it quite a bit, but I mean, that's like a whole subject in itself. I'm like, these folks have Stockholm syndrome and have really convinced themselves that this stuff feels good. And it's true though, because I will say, as somebody who went through a tremendous amount of trauma growing up and all that other stuff, I mean, before I started trying to focus on healing, I mean, I definitely found myself in those moments of like that one time that I might have had any kind of power over anybody and feeling like, finally, it's my turn, and like you don't realize that that's actually not a healthy thought when you're going through that. But as you start to heal and you're like, ooh, that is incredibly unhealthy, and so now the problem is that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so when you start to see all of those areas where that oppression comes into play and those power dynamics, and like you said, the faux leaders and those faux authoritarians, I mean, it's just a bunch of crap. And that's where, for me, like all of the stuff that we have coming up with this incoming administration, like how much of this do we accept as being our truth of like, oh, well, they're erasing our existence. I'm still here. To quote Scarface.
Yeah, for me,
but
I know that if I absolutely had to, that I could pretend again. I could start telling people that I'm a cis man if I really had to. I don't want to though. Like I don't care what happens. Like I'm not gonna back down from who I am. Like that's who I'm gonna be, and I'm gonna be loud and proud about it.
That's one of the things I actually really love about your games, Dusty, is the way that you bring in community and the way that you're inherently teaching people how to be leaders and how to do some organizing and how to think in a different way rather than just accepting, that like you're powerless and that you have to be in that little fetal position because, well, the big bad guy's coming, let's go hide. No, this is not the answer. So yeah, I mean, for you, Dusty, like what do you feel like brings you that inspiration and your power? How do you find your power?
I mean, I just it's there. I guess it's something that I don't think whenever I write this stuff, I write it very clearly for this because I think it's from the example where I grew up with a lot of a feeling of the opposite of all that. Like what I mentioned earlier, moving to Chicago from San Diego, how here I feel a much bigger sense of community than I ever did in San Diego, and that's probably where it's coming from because I've seen so little of it. Like I'm Latin, I'm Mexican. I grew up in a Mexican household, and like your family looks out for each other like all the time. Even though you squabble here and there, it's just these things that you are there for your family through thick and thin. And it's kind of one thing that kind of shook me a bit growing up is I grew up, I'm my mom's youngest child. So I didn't grow up speaking Spanish. So like I visited my family in Tijuana all the time, but like communication was hard in general. And so my abuelita passed one year. And so I went to her wake in Tijuana, and there was like dozens to near hundreds of people that I had no idea. And that's because my abuelita was a huge pillar of like the small like church community in Tijuana. And I didn't know that at the time. And like, it was just because I wasn't around, I didn't speak the language, I didn't connect. And so I think if I had to pinpoint something, I think going from there is like, well, the only reason I didn't know because I couldn't talk, I couldn't communicate with them. And so I that's something, honestly, it's probably, I just literally connected that right here and there, but it's something that I've always held like there, and that's just kind of been my moving forward. And it was harder in San Diego, just because of, like, again, like I had like my friends I went to, but they're like so far apart, and like driving, like literally seeing them or communicating with them, and like we weren't online friends because we were real friends. Like, real friends is the wrong word. Real life
Right.
friend is what I meant to say, because I saw them, I went to high school with them and all that. But like, when 2020 happened, I started connecting people all over the world. And so I knew that you could get that sense of community still, even if you're hundreds, thousands of miles away. You all have the same ideals, like hopefully same ideals, or you're doing the same things. So you got to talk to people, and
Yeah.
and I think that unconsciously started going into my games, my early games, but I made it much more like apparent going on. Even like Dracula owes you money. The thing for is like Dracula owes you money and you're gonna get it back. And the whole idea is that you're all someone who's had something taken from you. And you're all like, you have this one goal in mind, to work together to get this. And so, and like, I made it much more explicit in Lesbian Werewolf Crime Fighters, and then definitely in Trans Vampire Cowboys.
I love that. And I can't wait for this community to play it.
Mhm.
So, for anybody out there who is interested in playing the game, please visit our Quest Collective page. I'm not sure where you're going to be catching this wonderful conversation, but we definitely have the sign up form available for you. Click the sign up form, fill that out. We're gonna give you a link to Dusty's itch page, where they have been generous enough to give some community copies for folks who maybe cannot quite afford it. But for those of you who can, please dig into your pockets and throw Dusty some extra coin, because we need our creators to keep creating these wonderful worlds and environments and games for us, so that we do get the opportunity to rest and play and experience some joy, and even better, to be in community with each other. And if you are somebody who is out in some rural community where you don't feel like you have folks in nearby, but you would love to be able to play these games, join us anyway. Sign up for Quest Collective and let us know that you are looking for a seat at a table. We've got lots of tables being built every single day, and I can guarantee you, we've always got somebody who will play. So lots of fun to be had with this group. But I also don't want to take up too much of Dusty's time. It's getting a little late o'clock here on the East Coast anyway. But I just want to really thank you for taking the time to join us on this call tonight, and for allowing us to like shout you out and spotlight you this month. I am super excited to get my hands on a copy of this game myself and to play. I know Rain and I have been in conversation about the upcoming game that we're going to run on Twitch. And then my wife and I are already conspiring. I think this is what we're doing during the holidays and like when we get into the Airbnb situation, all that stuff. So we will be playing as well. And then hopefully we will have lots and lots of people across the country playing your game this month. And yeah,
well, not just across the country, across the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got people everywhere. Yeah, we got people everywhere that are going to be playing your game. I know we've got about 20 folks who have signed up for Quest Collective, period. And then, we have folks that sign up for individual games. So hopefully we can have at least 25, 30 or more game nights happening this month, just playing your game. And then every month we're going to have a whole new game. So Dusty, feel free to also hang out, play lots of these games with us. We are trying to prioritize creators who are disabled to TIGE and BIPOC as well. Because we already know this community is not the community that gets the most visibility in most situations, but as part of the future, we're changing that. And really, that is part of the qualifications of moving into the future is we have to make sure that future is a hell of a lot more equitable for all of us. And this is one of the many ways we're going to get there. It doesn't have to all be boring. It doesn't have to all be work that's just heavy and difficult and we got to sit around and be mad and pissed off or sad or whatever. We can have all the feelings, including joy. So put down the heavy, pick up the fun, and join us with some Quest Collective stuff. But otherwise, yeah, thank you all so much for tonight. And I look forward to playing lots of games with both of you in the upcoming future. And Dusty, get ready for some in-person stuff because we've got to be neighbors.
Hell yeah. You love to see it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to hit you up when I make my way back to Chicago, which is going to be in like 2 weeks, by the way. So it's coming up very soon. I'm excited.
Hell yeah, that's sick. Just let me know. I'll show you the good places. The good Mexican places.
That's awesome. Yeah, I gotta get the 411 on which parts of town because Chicago's wild if they're like 100+ suburbs and like you make a right and you're in like you need to get back to the left real quick. And then you make a left and all of a sudden you're in this amazing place. But somehow they all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm learning that still.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but I dig it. And I am just so excited for all the community opportunities that we're all creating moving forward in 2025. And really, that's my final reminder and my final thing for everybody on this chat is just remember, regardless of what nonsense you're hearing through mainstream media, screw that. None of us have ever needed anybody else's permission to exist on this planet. Our permission came the moment we took our first breaths. And that being said, if you need a space to exist safely, peacefully, and joyfully, you found it here with Trans Empowerment Project. Come on in. It's for everybody. Everything we're doing here is all about making sure that we're bringing equity into the future, period. So we got lots of spaces, lots of things for y'all to see and do and all the fun. But yeah, thanks again for being here. Thanks for digging into the game a little bit. And I look forward to hearing how much fun everybody's having this month.
Thanks for having me, and I'm so excited to hear how what happens in these games.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, y'all have a great night, and thank you again. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Talk to you later.